The hate between men and women seems cool now. What do you think is wrong with modern-day dating? I came across a thread somewhere online where a guy posted that he was an introverted homebody and had trouble meeting someone. Everyone suggested taking up various hobbies and doing things alone to meet someone. The guy had no interest in doing those things, but man did he get hell from the other commenters. Basically, it was, who cares if you don't like to hike alone? Go do it to meet someone. I get where the OP was coming from, and I wouldn't say he's without blame, but why do things disingenuously? That's like my friend saying he'll hold their cute dog so girls would like him. Well, they don't like him, they like the dog. I've traveled alone and done activities solo, movies, restaurants, gym, etc., and let me tell you, not once has that ever led to chatting up with another woman. I get that people were trying to be helpful for that guy, but I didn't think it was realistic. Somebody replied, "This is just like me, I have absolutely no idea how to meet women anymore. Out of college. Work remotely. Don't really like the bar scene. Not good looking enough for the apps. I've been told to just go to sports clubs and hobbies, but all I've found there are old people or only young men. Help." The younger generations are in a bad place and it's only getting worse. A small percentage of both men and women with bad behavior ruin it for the genuine people that are seeking a healthy relationship. There's so much conflict and oversensitivity that misunderstandings explode from the most innocent of things. Conversely, there are too many people full of themselves who demand that their every whim be catered to. The saturation of technology has destroyed social skills and tolerance. Overconsumption of alcohol has become the norm and it's terrible for relationships. I'm seeing a dangerous trend of people not willing to compromise in dating and relationships nowadays. Everybody wants to reap the benefits and none of the negatives. Compromise is second to trust when it comes to dating. If you can't do either, you have a lot of self-reflection to do. Somebody replied, "As an extension to this, I think people leave at the first sign of a flaw. There are so many red flags to look out for that people would rather make a quick judgment on them than stick around to figure out what's really going on. That's my interpretation at least. Too willing to cut people off if they aren't perfect." I once saw a thread about compromising and there were replies with multiple upvotes about never compromising anything. They were convinced that compromising would result in them giving up everything and their partners giving up nothing. If that's true, you need to have a spine, know when to stand your ground and when to compromise, work on your communication skills, or find a partner who is actually open to compromising. Somebody replied, "For my perennially single friend who is absolutely miserable about that fact, this is 100% of his problem. He's a catch on paper, but he's unwilling to make any room in his life for a woman's life, nor is he open to changing his worldview, which is extremely male, or making adjustments to his schedule, which is rigid due to his hobbies and work. Like, bro, you've been searching for this gym rat woman who holds all the same opinions as Joe Rogan and is happy to eat your meal prepped chicken and brown rice every night, and spend every one of her vacations at multi-day raves, and agree to accept your strict design aesthetic and use your furniture and wall hangings when you move in together, and makes within 20% of your income, but you haven't found her yet. If she exists, there's like two of her and maybe she doesn't live within the 20-mile fence you've set up on the dating apps because you're not willing to commute for a relationship. You are responsible for your own loneliness, my guy." I think that most people cannot distinguish between needs, likes, and preferences. I need you not to smoke. It would be nice if you had a high-paying job. I prefer brunettes. The first one is not negotiable. The second one is just something that I would like, but it is not necessary. The last one is just a preference and is not necessary for a long-term relationship. Cynicism. People have been burned before and have too many guards up. It's always being watchful for how this person is going to treat me like the last people did. This keeps everyone from being their authentic self and just enjoying getting to know one another. Think back to those middle school infatuations or when you met a girl at summer camp. There was no cynicism there. There was no one worrying, does he really like me, or does he just want to have me? It was just, damn, you're cool and it is fun hanging out with you. Does everyone miss those days like I do? By the way, this goes for everyone. It typically isn't an either or question. People generally want people they like. If they don't like you, odds are they aren't interested in being with you. This is totally true. I was recently burned in a relationship more than I've ever been before. And I'm really trying hard not to let that experience close me off and to still remain positive about dating and people. But man, it's so hard. It feels like no one holds themselves to standards. And not even me sometimes, which makes it even more depressing. It also kind of makes me wonder sometimes. Some of the ways people have treated me, I would have never done to someone else. It feels like all these people get burned, but who is doing the burning? Like, why does that happen? Why not just try your best to be a decent person? Even that's asking a lot from some people. Somebody replied, it also helps to think that hurt people hurt others. And people who go around screwing up others' lives and making big mistakes that mess with people, likely they are dealing with really heavy things as well, like lower self-esteem than I can imagine. My last ex broke things off with me and was crying the whole time saying I deserved better than him and that he really did love me. I just can't imagine how low you feel about yourself to acknowledge that someone you love deserves better than you, and you're struggling with your own issues so much that you have no choice but to hurt people you love. I don't know, it makes me almost feel bad for those people, rather than taking it as a personal thing. It's so digitized. It's fake, incredibly nearby, and yet far away. Somebody replied, I agree. Online dating makes it much more shallow, and most women use too many filters and think they are hotter than they are so they can have their pick of the litter. This adds to more insecurity and entitlement. I used to use Tinder but I ended up only picking the hottest guys, when in real life I didn't care as much and found attractive qualities in men that often can't be seen in a photo. I'm a little fed up with the state of some groups of people who just want to be super hot and we lose the nice quirks people have. Correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't the French more into being imperfect and look down upon people who are relay plastic type people? The rest of the world should be more French. Moving the meat from the real world to apps has led to both decision paralysis, too many people to choose from, and impatience. They didn't respond within 2 minutes, so I'm moving on. You used to meet someone in person, have a nice conversation, get their number, and ask them out. Now you're like one of 1,000 people the person is talking to at any given second, and if one of you doesn't reply at the exact right moment, the other will just move on to the next rando. This is leading to more and more people feeling lonely and isolating themselves, and eventually getting super weird and creepy about dating. We're social animals and we just aren't equipped to deal with the impersonal nature of apps, the constant rejection and the lack of face-to-face communication. I met my last 3 girlfriends, and now wife, in person, and I just can't imagine how hard it is to find a healthy and sustainable partnership through something like Tinder, although I know a lot of people who have. I dated a long time ago, before internet dating was a thing. But everything I've heard from young people about internet dating tells me that it's horrible. People used to just meet and then get to know each other. Now, people shop for human beings with a checklist of desired features as if they're shopping on Amazon, and the slightest deviation from the checklist can make someone swipe left. I never would have met my wife if we'd used online dating, because I didn't match up with her checklist. In a predominantly capitalist and consumerist society, every aspect of our lives will eventually become transactional. That's where we seem to be trending. Maybe in a few decades we'll lament about how you could once date without an Amazon Prime subscription. Where do I even begin? The biggest one, the overemphasis of dating apps and sites, and all the problems it poses. If you're an average-looking guy, be prepared to have your confidence destroyed. Many features that were free 10 years ago, when I was in college, you now need to pay for. Tried using Plenty of Fish last year and so many of its free features you now need to pay extra for. It's practically useless now unless you open your wallet. Same with Tinder. Dating has, basically, become pay to win on these things because if you don't, you run the risk of being cursed by the algorithm, and getting kicked to the bottom of the pile since you aren't paying. Not to mention, these apps significantly affect behavior. Someone who seems amazing to talk to on an app will suddenly have nothing to say in person. The expectation that I have to be the sole person responsible for carrying a conversation. The absurd expectations a guy must meet when a girl window shops, because she is now able to see hundreds of potential options in her area within just a few minutes. I could keep going, but I'll just get more angry. Somebody replied, I've run some, very unscientific, experiments on apps and it's true. Because men far outnumber women, you won't be seen without paying for those mega expensive super boosts. That's how they balance the problem out while lining their pockets. To your second point, it's really hard to be yourself on a date once you've established a rapport via text. I'm usually a totally different person on a first date because I have to keep up that persona, but it's exhausting and not sustainable for multiple dates. You end up with a lot of one-night stands. I think it's just too rushed, especially with the invention of digital dating. Dating has become instant gratification territory. I get not wanting to waste one's time, but my impression is that the dating scene has many people that don't want to take time to get to know someone. Part of the fault, I think, though, is the nature of the apps themselves. They are a prime environment for breeding a mentality of if I'm good at getting matches, and I don't like someone immediately, or they are kinda may, then why wait when an immediately amazing person can be a few swipes away? Another issue with how things are done digitally, is that the profiles are so superficial overall. They water down the true complexity of the human being behind it, which makes it even more difficult to truly get to know someone or think someone is interesting. Not to mention that a lot of the popular dating apps and such, are utilized as part of the modern hookup culture, so people who are trying to find a genuine connection are left looking for a needle in a haystack. TL. Doctor, there are many obstacles, which were made worse by COVID because it made people rely a lot more on digital dating for 2+ years. Meanwhile, because of all of this, there are a bunch of genuinely good people, interesting people who are just kinda lost at sea. From talking to older folks about dating, it seems like there's too much choice. A lot of folks like my parents basically had their town, block, village, etc. All they had to compare were the other single people in their community. So a woman only had to be more attractive than the people around her. A man only had to be more interesting or successful than the people around him. Same with when they went off to college, only on a bigger scale. Same if they moved to a larger city, but even on a more massive scale. People didn't have the absolute astronomical amount of choice. I can get on most apps and potentially swipe on people around the world. It's literally a blur of faces. 1,000 potentially matches a day. I can DM supermodels, millionaires, and low-key movie stars. What chance does Jim in accounting and Jill working at CVS have? None if they and everyone around them isn't firmly grounded in reality. That's kind of where modern dating feels like it is all quickly headed. Somebody replied, social media destroys relationships and we began treating each other like objects. Every topic is offensive now. You should find someone with similar beliefs, but people can agree to disagree about some topics. The hate between men and women seems cool now. Men and women go on social media, like TikTok, and bash the opposite gender constantly. It's like people forgot some men are bad, but some women are as well. Again, some, not all. I personally think Disney is to blame for a lot of issues in relationships. They teach little girls that they're princesses, and when they grow up, no man is good enough. You should treat it with respect and loyalty, absolutely, but have realistic standards. What did you think of today's video? Subscribe to the channel to receive a date with a 10 who is definitely your type. Do you have any experience with modern dating? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and I'll see you tomorrow with a new video.